you might notice this exceptional SUV right here. And we have the founder and CEO of Rivian. We're going to bring him out on stage. Please welcome RJ Scaringe and your moderator, Kirsten Korosek.
But we all heard that, right? 1 second. I'm going to get the sound taken care of. 1 second. RJ, you can hold court.
Okay.
Okay. Are we good? We're on? Yay! All right. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming. RJ, thanks for coming.
Yep.
I made a huge mistake yesterday, and I put out on Twitter, what should I ask RJ? And I got something like 75 responses. So we are not going to get to all of those today. But we've got the SUV right here. It's been a long time coming. And now I want to know what's coming next. You've talked a little bit about the R2, the second platform. And what are your priorities for the pipeline of what we should expect?
Yeah, I mean, as you look at this vehicle, this is our R1S. We have a sibling product in R1T. And the way we developed is we developed all the core technology, the compute platforms and electronics to the software stacks. And we developed it with the idea that a lot more stuff would come. So what's next is smaller vehicles, different form factors, but also the technology stack that exists even in these vehicles is going to continue to get better and better. So updated drive units, updated electronics, updated features that come from that. You know, and it's interesting because there's so much sort of interest and focus in this, and a lot of the team is now focused on what's next, and we haven't shown that yet. So we're really excited about showing that sometime soon.
So you have about 13,000 employees. So what would you say, like how many people are focused actually on the future product and not so much anymore on the SUV and the pickup truck and the delivery van?
Yeah, so organizationally we're set up with about half the company is involved in some part of product development, and vast majority of those resources, so 6,000-7,000 people are focused on what's next. So that's updated compute, updated drive units, really important updated battery packs. So a lot of that effort has been underway now for a while.
I think I got like 20 questions, either DMs or texts or on Twitter asking about the Max Pack. So since you brought up battery packs, is that on the horizon, or are you looking for
a bigger battery, more range for that, as well as for our truck? Yeah, for sure.
You talked about going smaller, and I want to go real small because you did file a trademark for an e-bike, I believe. Mm-hmm. So is that part of the plan?
Well, when you look at transportation over what we think of as like the next 10 to 15 years, core to part of the way we think about our product portfolio is that increasingly we're going to go towards multimodal. So we'll be using vehicles sometimes, public transportation other times. We think increasingly e-bikes, so electric assist bikes. And so for us to be part of that sort of mosaic of different mobility solutions, we have a whole host of products that are, a number of which are pretty far from what you see here. And in the e-bike space, it's something we're super excited about, but we haven't announced anything or said anything there. But I do think it's going to play an increasingly important role for transportation, and both in the movement of goods, so for commercial applications, but also for the movement of people.
I'm glad you brought up the movement of goods part, because Amazon, which is a major stakeholder in Rivian, and also you have a commercial relationship with, I mean, they talked about their sustainability goals in Europe, investing, I think, €1 billion or so. This was last week. And they did talk about using e-bikes for delivery. So while you might not be able to say, we are going to make that, be the supplier for that, where does Rivian fit in on these like multimodal commercial side of things in terms of like Is it an e-bike? Is it a smaller van? What
Yeah.
does that look like?
Yeah, so in addition to this product and its sibling, the truck, we have, as you said, a large set of commercial vans, and they're really large. So 700 cubic feet, 900 cubic feet, and 500 cubic feet, so very big. In our product portfolio, we have smaller vans as well, one of which we've announced through a partnership with Mercedes that'll be produced in Europe. But of course, we'll be moving to even smaller form factors, and the way we see it is a lot of our deliveries are going to increasingly move to things that are very small. Bikes or e-assist bikes, performing a lot of urban deliveries. And so as a product portfolio, we've certainly thought a lot about that.
Are you a scooter user? How do you feel about the scooter movement?
I think, I mean, it's obviously people are using it heavily. I think there's the challenges around safety and security of the platforms is a real thing. And I think what we're going to see is a lot of changes just in terms of how policy ingests some of these new modalities. We've sort of are living in a world right now where a lot of these new types of mobility that are emerging weren't contemplated in how we designed our streets, our parking, certainly policy. Talking about e-bikes, this is a really key one. There's a loophole where kids can be on a bike that can go 20 miles an hour because it's a bike. And so we're seeing like the regulatory framework, I think, is going to do a lot of catch up over the next couple of years around these spaces.
On the regulatory front, I do want to briefly address a recall that you had earlier this month, earlier this month. Nearly all your vehicles, 13,000. It was a quick fix, right? It was a torque fastener bolt. How was the customer response to that? Did they give you the leeway that we oftentimes see happens with, earlier stage or early adopter type customers?
Yeah, it's a complex product like a vehicle. There's going to be, unfortunately, recalls or they happen. Every manufacturer deals with some version of this, and so for us, this was something where we identified a potential issue. We said we want to get out as early as possible. So the moment we saw a potential issue, we made a decision. It was on a Friday afternoon to make this move, and by Friday evening, repairs were underway, and we worked through a significant majority of the vehicles over the next 10 days. And so for us, one of the really powerful things was having our direct-to-consumer model where instead of having to go through third parties or dealers or different entities, we literally mobilized our whole service network to say, let's go move through these vehicles really quickly. In this case, it was it's like a minute fix. It's just checking the torque on a fastener, but it was really powerful for us to respond so quickly. And I think what we saw from customers, of course, there's frustration around anything like this, but that we were trying to do the best possible job we could. We were authentic about it. We didn't sugarcoat it. We said we're going to go fix this, and so the reaction has been really quite positive.
Did you, based on what you learned, have you changed, was it necessary to change any company policy or just how you will do this again if this happens again?
No, so if you take something like that, there's thousands of parts in the vehicle, and so there's certain types of joints where we call safety critical joints or critical joints, and every one of those has a torque measurement. So when you put the fastener on, we actually record the torque. It goes into a database, and we have traceability. And what had happened on this is the traceability element of this was lost in some of the way that the back end was working. So we had to check that. But we have traceability on hundreds of fasteners in the vehicle, and this was one that we just had an issue with.
Okay.
So it shouldn't happen again.
I do want to talk a little bit about autonomous vehicle technology. And we've seen a number of automakers actually go from just having interest in advanced driver assistance systems to actually saying, no, we're going to sell personal autonomous vehicles. Mm-hmm. At the same time, there's been a report out maybe about a week ago or so, kind of quantifying that like $100 billion has been spent on autonomous vehicle technology. And the claim was that, what do we have to show for this? And with Rivian's perspective, I'm wondering, one, how has your view of autonomous vehicle technology changed? Do you see progress, and does Rivian want to be part of that progress?
Yeah, it's appropriate at this event to talk about this. Autonomy has been such a focal point from a technology point of view, and I think we've confused the world. You and I have talked about this before. We've confused the world by sort of lumping all different types of autonomy into one category. And what's really, if we're more accurate, there's really two very different topologies to achieve self-driving capabilities within a vehicle. There's very hardware-heavy systems, vehicles where you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in perception and compute in a vehicle to achieve a very high level of autonomy, what's often called level 4, level 5, where you could remove the driver and even the steering wheel from the vehicle. And then there's hardware-constrained systems, like what's on the vehicles we can purchase, like what's on a Rivian, where you're able to spend thousands of dollars on sensors and compute, but you can achieve then like a level 2 or level 3, so the ability to take your hands off the wheel, eyes off the road, and have the vehicle drive. But there are a number of circumstances where, of course, you as the driver of the vehicle still have to participate. And I think what we've seen happen is the hardware-heavy systems it takes a lot of capital, and the roadmap is much longer than most anticipated. And the hardware-constrained systems continue to get better. So the benefit of something like this is it keeps getting better and better every day. And we get to leverage the learnings that occur between our consumer vehicles and our commercial vehicles. The commercial vehicles, which are driving on many different routes, frankly, all day long. So there's this wonderful learning loop that you get from the deployed fleet. And so while there's less hardware, the role that AI and ML can play in training your cameras, training, therefore, your planning algorithms, is really quite powerful. And so our view as a company is really a more hardware-constrained system that can be applied across a lot of vehicles and millions of miles is a platform that's going to have the better long-term potential. But I think that's the world we're in now, is we're now seeing some of those more hardware-heavy systems find it to be more challenging than they had originally anticipated.
Do you think that automakers are going to be able to deliver personal autonomous vehicles that they sell by middle of decade, which some automakers have said that they will do? Like, is that technologically possible?
But at what level? Level
4?
Level 4? I think we may have, if you geofence, if you sort of create a digital fence around something, you can achieve level 4 today pretty easily. I think it's just a question of how broad the capability is. And that's the part that's been, I think, for most surprisingly difficult, is to expand the operating domain beyond a limited set of either roads or highways or circumstances. So I think we'll have fairly limited level 4 by mid-decade, but certainly in my lifetime, this is going to happen. It's just a question of when, it's not if.
Back to Rivian's approach, we've talked about this before. For people in the audience who don't know, level 3 is this one weird in-between spot where there's this question of it is autonomous in certain very specific driving conditions, but then the driver needs to go back into the loop. Mm-hmm. And some automakers are pursuing that, but others have stayed completely away from it, and they're really kind of going a little bit more constrained than that. Where do you fall? Do you plan on putting level 3 autonomous or automated driving technology in your vehicles?
Yeah, one of the things that's interesting and exciting about putting level 2 or level 3 into a consumer vehicle is it creates immediate value. You get time back. So if you're going from here, on the 280 down to Palo Alto, for example, the idea of having an hour back is really, really interesting and compelling. I think when you move into the level 3 domain, the challenge is just the handoff between the vehicles operating to then say, hey, occupant, retake control. So our view is that that's something that's worth doing, and the hardware set that's going into our vehicles, and then the increasingly capable software that runs on that is driving towards that for sure. Now we do think that the hardware limitations of what's in our vehicles today will limit them to level 3, But over time, of course, as we add new sensing modalities and as compute levels continue to rise, the ability to expand into level 4 is certainly there.
Right, but are you worried or have you thought about just the handoff issue? I mean, it's a liability question. It's also just, will people be paying attention? And
Yeah.
do you even want to mess around with that really as a company? Is it too risky?
I think the UI, so to speak, on the handoff has to be done really well. The other thing to keep in mind is we have an insurance product that we offer with the vehicles, and your rate actually goes down the more you use what we call Driver Plus. It's our level 2 feature today. And the reason for that is it's much better than the best human. It doesn't, the vehicle's not going to check its phone for a text. It's not going to get distracted by something out the window. So the safety aspect of moving into these level 2, level 3 systems that intentionally drive towards more and more time being driven by the vehicle itself is meaningful and real.
I want to shift gears a little bit. Sorry for the pun. I was going over the list of all the locations that you're in, something like at least 10, I think, in terms of offices and factories. You have about 13,000 employees, and you have a reputation of actually touching like every part of the company, and you're one person. That seems very unsustainable.
Yeah, it's a lot of travel. Yes, it's actually now close to 15,000 employees, but big center of gravity here in the Bay Area, another in Southern California, and then we have a production plant in Illinois. So I do sort of like this crazy triangle every week. So this afternoon I'm flying to Illinois to be in our plant. But it's sort of rhythmic. With COVID, it was like a little less travel.
That does not sound rhythmic. Like being on a plane constantly does not sound rhythmic. It sounds like how do you avoid burnout? There are a lot of founders here, I think, who want to know that.
I mean, I think being excited about what you're doing helps avoid burnout. I was in our design studio in Southern California earlier this week and looking at future products. It's like so exciting. And then with our software teams doing a whole host of software demos yesterday, and then in the plant tonight, which it's exciting to see all these different parts of the business. So I think if you're passionate about what you're doing and excited about what's being built, it sort of is the anti-burnout antidote, if you will.
Well, I was going to say that to avoid burnout, you need to share your excitement and all the future products and pipeline with the audience, and that's like key, right?
That'd been cool. We drive something new up on stage.
Yes,
here.
yes. But really though, you have been actually wanting to build a car company since you were a child, and it has been a long road. So how, aside from future products, is there anything else that really like allows you to maintain this sort of work-life balance of running a massive company, growing it, really getting pressure, and having like a ton of attention on you? I wonder if you miss those days of when you were working in stealth, the freedom that you had.
Yeah. I mean, we went public late last year, and as a private company, we were a fairly private company, which was really nice. We sort of kept to ourselves. We let the product and what we were doing speak for itself. And then to go public, and we had a large IPO, and there was a lot of like eyes on it. And then, of course, in this market, it's been really interesting for me and for the organization to sort of have our first year as a public company be with this market backdrop. But I think what's been super encouraging is just the amount of enthusiasm we see from customers and how the vehicles are being used, the experiences they're generating. I got a note yesterday it was the coolest note. It was like the boost I needed at the end of the day from a customer. He sent me a picture of his daughter, his 2-year-old daughter, who ran up to their Rivian and gave it a hug. And I guess she loves the vehicle so much she gives it a hug every day. And I was like, that's so cool. It was so inspiring to see. So to have that, like the things that so many people within Rivian have worked so hard to try to create in terms of experiences and product and every aspect of the product, whether it's technology or experience, to have that resonate is really exciting.
In this past year in particular, since you went from, I mean, really in the last 4 years, it's been from coming out on the public stage, then being actually a publicly traded company. But in the last year, especially as you've grown, what have you encountered, like just odd and unexpected things that you never thought that you would have to deal with that may even be, the harder parts of running a company? Like just is it HR stuff or on the manufacturing side, things that you just never even considered when you originally founded the company?
I mean, the obvious one I think all of us, I'm sure, have gone through is just we didn't plan for the supply chain challenges and the COVID that precipitated that. I mean, we were originally set to launch this a little earlier than we did, and we had like designed our whole production facility, laid out all the equipment, ordered the equipment, and beginning of 2020, all that equipment started to arrive. And I remember, March of 2020, when everything sort of shut down, we had like 90 trucks of equipment that were like basically just drove to the plant and sat there. And we had to then figure out how to like launch the plant, hire a workforce, train a workforce. And we're doing that across 3 different vehicles, the truck, the SUV, and the commercial van, in the middle of trying to figure out how does an industrial operation run in a world of COVID. So that was like enormously challenging and enormously frustrating to just look at sort of the perfect storm of challenges that emerged. And sort of the afterburner on all that was the supply chain, which we'd figure out how to run the plant. The plant is now running, and then we've just in the last 6 months for us, we had it's now improved a lot, but I should say the first 6 months of this year, it was a really challenging supply chain environment, particularly in the world of semiconductors. And some of the commoditized semis that we would have never even thought about were holding up ramp in a way that I would have never imagined. If I had, I would have bought a lot of semiconductors and put them in a warehouse, but I think that probably surprised all of us, certainly us.
Or you could just build them, right?
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought up supply chain constraints. There's been a lot of attention, obviously, on the Inflation Reduction Act, and you personally just talked to us about like how you suffered and the company suffered from this. Is it going to be enough to solve the problem of supply chain constraints, which are being felt throughout the industry, by onshoring, bringing battery production and chip production to the United States?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the semiconductor shortage we've just gone through, and everyone in this room can probably relate to some of those challenges in different parts of your business, in your businesses, I would call that an appetizer to the degree of sort of supply chain constraint we're likely to see across the battery supply chain over the next 15 years. The battery supply chain as we know it for lithium-ion batteries, whether you're looking at lithium hydroxide or lithium carbonate, it was built largely around consumer electronics. And so it's very small. It's not a huge supply chain. And so it has to grow by 20x, or on the order of 20x, over the next 10 to 15 years. And so the level of investment needed to go build that is staggering. And moreover, I think the level of risk concentration, given that it hasn't been built in the United States, is a real thing. So, the IRA bill that recently passed, which affects many businesses, it has a huge impact on the transportation space because it creates very large and very helpful incentives to go build and create this supply chain that doesn't exist today. So, I mean, we're ecstatic with the fact that this has been sort of put in place, and it positions us as a company, and I'd say the industry, to now go deploy, truly trillions of dollars as an industry into creating a supply chain that doesn't exist.
But can the automotive industry actually reach the goals that it wants? Because literally every single automaker in the past 18 months or so has, basically said by the end of the decade, a few past that they are going to be all electric. I mean, based on what you know, especially around the lithium side of things, is this possible? I
think it's awesome. I mean, we should accept, this is like so cool. It's insanely awesome that we went from a world where a few years ago I would go to meetings and people would sort of laugh at the idea of electrification coming to, broad-based vehicles or large format vehicles. So the fact that like societies move this way, policymakers have, and even the companies have, is awesome. The challenge we now have is a supply problem. There's going to be demand, but can we create enough supply? And I think it is. That's why I say it is going to be a constraint. The number of cells that we can produce is going to constrain, as an industry. This isn't speaking to Rivian, but as an industry, it's going to constrain how rapidly we go from a few million electric vehicles a year to 100 million electric vehicles a year.
Well, we are literally seconds away from being, and even though I have so many more questions for you, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for the audience, and let's thank RJ.